Hey guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Ferocious Feline Productions. Often when we think about the Northmen, the Norse, the Vikings, we think about their conquests, how violently they went into a new territory and conquered and plundered that territory. But believe it or not, there was a golden rule that the Vikings lived by. But I don't want to go into a lot of detail about it. I'm going to let you check it out, and we'll talk more after. This is some good stuff. Stick around to the end, and I'll explain what this month is, especially to me, and why we're going to focus on the Norse. Check this out. This is good.
Gold was the glue of Viking society, and the longships took them to it. The strongest and wealthiest, Viking chieftains and kings, ruled by giving generously to those under their command. Trade and conquest filled the coffers of the kings, and the Viking Age simply would not have existed without the longship, the best boat of the day, taxis of terror and trade. The Vikings lived in a highly structured society, with a chieftain priest at the top. Below the chieftain, the class of freemen included warriors, farmers, artisans, lawyers, and poets. These roles were fluid, and while every warrior was also a farmer, some were also poets and blacksmiths, lawyers, and priests. Viking society also included slaves, the bottom of the social ladder. The slaves, often other people captured during Viking raids, could be killed in any season and for any reason. During the Viking Age, 800 to 1066, the kings rose to ultimate power by might and bloody battle, killing or cowing all other chieftains. Harold met a bedazzling princess who refused to marry him unless he made something more of himself. The frailty of the male eye, the lure of love, her face, would launch 1,000 ships. To meet her challenge and gain her as his wife, he aimed to conquer all of Norway, and he refused to cut, comb, or wash his hair until he achieved this lofty goal. He succeeded by sea, using longships with berserks growling in the prow. Only on the Whale Road or sea could he reach and defeat the populated regions of mountainous Norway. After 10 years, he became that country's first king, and when he finally did wash, cut, and comb his hair for the wedding, people commented on how fine his hair was, hence his nickname, Harold Finehair. The kings or chieftains won their place by military might, by winning battles and killing their own kind, and Vikings were eager to share their violence with others, turning the Christian peace of Europe to pandemonium. The Vikings prized a matrix of 4 interconnected virtues above all: courage, honor, generosity, and loyalty. A curious blend of fearlessness and fatalism guided them to face inevitable death with stoic fortitude, an idea captured in the poem Havamal, the sayings of the High One. Cattle die, wealth dies, kinsmen die, you yourself must one day die, but word fame never dies for him who achieves it well. The top god, the High One, Odin, was an unscrupulous philosopher king, worshipped by the Viking nobility, the poets, and berserks. As lord of the slain, his animals, the wolf and raven, ate the dead bodies after battles. The common folks worshipped Thor, whose name lives on in Thursday. The freemen, chieftains, and kings were also strongly independent people, and this appears in the very advanced for the times rights of women. Women were married at a young age to men chosen by their fathers, but the Icelandic sagas record numerous accounts of women playing an active role in this process, because the men rather frequently left home to fish, trade, and raid. The women had to manage the farms in their absence. Viking women could own property, inherit estates, and even divorce their husbands. Here is an illustrative passage from Laxdæla Saga. Gudrun Ásvífursdóttir is introduced as the most beautiful woman ever to have grown up in Iceland, and no less clever than she was good-looking. Gudrun has dreams that cause her concern. A wise kinsman interprets the dreams to mean that Gudrun will have 4 husbands. She will divorce the first one, but the other 3 will die. And indeed, Gudrun marries her first husband at the age of 15, and he turns out to be a man she dislikes. She makes him a shirt with a low-cut neck, and then shortly thereafter divorces him on the grounds that he wears woman's clothing. Viking kings and chieftain priests gained the gold for their gifts by military conquest and increasingly by trade. The desire to extend the net of trade certainly explains part of the volcanic movements of the Vikings in this period. The great wealth in the Christian territories of Europe also attracted Viking swords like a magnet. They got to the gold by boat. In the firestorm that would be, overpopulation and climate change made the tinder dry in Scandinavia, but the massacre of 4,500 pagan Saxons at Verdun by Charlemagne in October of 782 provided the spark for the conflagration. The resulting Viking attacks and the rise of the kings provided a riposte to the military and ideological threats posed by such Christian nation-states. The swan-breasted and swan-necked longships would carry merchants and warriors to distant shores in search of the silver, gold, and other goods to fuel their gift-giving economy. Skimming over the rough waves of the North Atlantic by sail or rowed up a river, these versatile and sleek swans took the adventurous and warlike Norse to lands far west, east, and south. The Viking craftsmen, important artists in the society, built the hull first, overlapping the planks in what is termed the clinker-built or lap-strake style, and the internal crossbeams were often tied to the ribs near the keel to provide added elasticity. Archaeology has proven that Norwegians traded at Ribe, the oldest commercial center in Denmark, prior to the start of the Viking Age, so the development of naval skills and technology began under the aegis of peaceful trade. History, although sometimes written in stone, is fragile like ice. Each historian and each age has limitations and biases, the imperfections and shortfalls of our shared humanity, and the hard facts that furnish history are often too many today and too few in the past. Modern archaeology has greatly improved our knowledge of the Viking Age, but we owe a debt to the early writings of Iceland, primarily the sagas, the only extant written sources on the Vikings by a Viking people, our clearest window on that path.
Welcome back. It's like I was saying at the beginning, there's a reason I'm focusing on the Norsemen in the month of May. For those of you that have been with me for years, you know that every May I'm called to service by the Niles Renaissance Faire as head of security for the entire weekend, to take care of the vendors, to take care of their goods, and to ensure the safety and order of the guests, the visitors, the performers. It's coming up here in just a couple weeks in Niles, Michigan. You can look it up on Facebook or online at Niles Michigan Renaissance Faire. I like to focus on the Vikings because I always represent a Viking warrior. It's one of my favorite personas to do. I find the Viking life fascinating. How when we look into Viking history, we see the sagas, the conquests, the great stories of the Vikings and their conquests. But to find out that there was a golden rule to Viking life, a golden rule that was never crossed. And it was this way throughout Viking history, from the 800s to the 1200s. What did you think about the Vikings' golden rule? The way that they treated their women, the reason they did what they did, and the fact that every warrior, be him a farmer, a poet, a musician, in his spare time, all shared in the treasures that were looted. Sounds to me like a pretty good life and a pretty good way of doing things. But that's all we got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this look at the golden rule of Viking society. And once again, if you live in the Michiana area, feel free to come out and visit me at the Niles Michigan Ren Fair here during the month of May. Look it up at Facebook at Niles Michigan Renaissance Faire, or look it up online at www.nilesmichiganrenfair.com. 6 years I've been doing it, since the very beginning. And every year it's got bigger and better. Come out and see us if you get a chance. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. And we'll see you out there.